What's up, YouTubers? Today we're going to talk about the Remington Prospector Baby Bullet. This is made by Great Eastern Cutlery. Remington basically farmed it out to make 2,500 of these in 2021, kind of their special release knife. It is a trapper pattern jackknife with jig bone covers. They look very nice. They resemble a peach seed, and it looks very much like that. They do contain nickel silver bolsters, and they're bareheaded, so there's no cap on the end of these guys. Let's talk about the blades. The first blade, which I primarily used in my use case for about last 3 months, kind of put it in my pocket as a secondary knife to pull out when people that get freaked out about fast moving knives don't want those. So I had a chance to use it a little bit. The drop point is 3.1 inches, and it's made of 1095 steel. It has a pull weight of about 8.5 to 9. This definitely will do a number if you use it a lot on your nails, fingernails. So the spay blade on the other side, if you decide to turn a female dog into a formal female dog, it has a pull weight of about 8.5. So pretty stiff, but not as bad as the other one. It's also 3.1 inches. And again, both blades are made of 1095 high carbon steel. I'm actually starting to see a little bit of patina where I've just been grabbing this. You can kind of, well, it may or may not show there. These satin blades, murderous on these things. This knife weighs 3.6 ounces. It prices at $170. And again, both blades are made of 1095 steel, so it's not a stainless steel. You'll have to take care of these a little bit. As kind of a comparison knife or two, we'll go ahead and bring in the Case Trapper. And this is a Kiranite one. So it's in fact, it's the exact same 3.6 ounces. It just has a clip point blade and a spay blade. And you can definitely tell the difference of these. This one's actually a little bit thinner in the hands. Just doesn't have the fit and finish of this particular, of the one we're talking about here. The another one that has an alternative. Oh, and that's about around $70. The Rough Rider Classic Carbon Barlow. This is a 3.1 ounce knife. Obviously a much smaller blade, but it does have carbon steel. Did a really good job. And actually, in terms of hand feel, it's a nice and wide in the hand. So that's kind of where, some alternatives, and that knife goes for about 24 to 26 bucks, depending on where you buy it. So those are some alternatives that you might get, and that's the Barlow is also actually a jackknife where it just has a little pin blade on the other side of it. So those are your kind of comparisons there. The pros on this knife, let's talk about them. The GEC fit and finish is beautiful. Everything is basically square. They do have half stops, and you have no pride of your springs during that half stop. So just really fantastic. And that holds true basically for the spay blade as well. It's very well done, very level. So great fit and finish. Again, that beautiful peach seed milling and the molasses color is marvelous. The only place that you can feel any non-continuity is just on this the shield side here, where the bolster, there's just the slightest gap, but otherwise everything else literally flows perfectly smoothly in. The peening's really nice, honestly. I can't say anymore, but other than GEC is just knocking it out of the park. Obviously, that's why they're super popular. These blades are super thin, and that's common with traditional pocket knives. They just, even as they start to get dull, they are so thin, they'll just slice through whatever you want, except things that really require kind of a biting edge. I did go ahead and take a shot of cutting through some cardboard boxes, and not super comfortable. We'll talk about the cons and why on that. But again, you got super thin blades that slice really, really well. And so for that, can't complain at all. What I like about this knife, and there's a pro and a con here, you have two blades, so that when one blade goes dull, you can go ahead, or if one blade goes dull or something happens to it, you can just pop out a second one. You have a nice sharp second blade without having to carry a second knife. So if you did just want to carry one knife, the two blade thing is not a bad thing. Again, if you think about how many uses in between sharpenings, well, on this one you can actually go a little bit wild because you have two blades in there. Use one till it dulls, use the other. You might actually keep one as a dull item for, one of the use cases that I found for me was actually using this spay blade for peanut butter. because it had that nice shape, and it actually did really well as far as putting peanut butter on. So that was that's just an option. The drop point blade, of course, is really useful also because it has that nice sharp tip, just the tip. And yeah, so those are kind of some of the pros that one would expect. And then as far as the cons, this also showed up at the at the opening demo, but this knife in hand, if you're in a hammer grip and trying to push through something, like even just carving wood, or I like to whittle wood, it is awful because you have that second blade. And this is the con side of having a second blade. Now I understand why people might want traditionals with just one blade, because as your fingers roll around that other blade, if you put any weight while you're either going through, let's say, I don't know, a piece of cardboard, or just for me whittling some wood, that thing just digs right into your knuckles, and it's just extremely uncomfortable. So for me, that's a pretty big negative. The second thing is the price on this. You can get some other really good traditional knives for much less, and with the GEC quality, I bought a few others. Like I said, they're in the $120 range. You're forking out $170 for this. Obviously, there's going to be some markup from Remington, and GEC has to make their profit as well. Of course, it's a limited edition number and that sort of thing. Oh, and it has this great shield of the Baby Bullet. So I do think the price is a little bit high on their one. And then the last thing I will say is I had to work in the wok on the drop point, which I did use as my primary blade, an awful lot. It was actually kind of gritty from the outset. And so I had to basically, initially, it was so gritty, I had to put in a little bit of oil in there and just work it through. And then as the months went by, using it, the wok just became fine. So just out of the gate, the drop point was a little bit gritty there. Not a huge great thing. Overall, what would I say about this knife? You know what, if you're looking for some GEC quality in a traditional knife, traditional basically being a euphemism for I don't have modern materials, there's no T anything on here, you're not going to be taking this apart and piecing together. This is a great expression from GEC. It has very strong pull weight, if you like that. For me, I actually prefer it a little bit lighter, maybe like 6 to 7. Is my preference. So these are definitely in that higher range, but it does showcase the great, great production quality of GEC. And if you're looking for GEC, they're kind of tough to find. They usually sell out in literally about 5 to 10 minutes. These are still available. So, and there will be some, I suspect, on the secondary market as well. So I hope you did enjoy this. If you did, hit like and subscribe, and have a great day for yourselves. Take care.